Hello and welcome to ADHD Support Talk Radio. My name is Tara McGillicuddy and I am the host of ADHD Support Talk Radio. I am also an adult ADD and ADHD productivity coach and the founder and director of ADDclasses.com. And at ADDclasses.com, we provide virtual support and education to people affected by ADD and ADHD. We offer free webinars. We have an extensive ADD audio library with more than 150 courses, and we also offer more in-depth support programs. You can learn more about ADDclasses.com by going to the website www.addclasses.com. And I'd like to thank everyone who has taken the time to give me a review on iTunes for ADHD Support Talk Radio. The more reviews I have, the easier it is for people to find ADHD Support Talk Radio, which in turn helps more people lead happier and more productive lives with ADHD. So with that, I would like to welcome Cameron Gott to ADHD Support Talk Radio. In just a moment, we're going to be having an interesting conversation about adrenaline, inspiration, motivation, and ADHD. So welcome to ADHD Support Talk Radio, Cameron.
Thank you, Tara. It's great to be here.
Okay, before we get started talking about motivation and inspiration and adrenaline, can you let our listeners know a bit about yourself and how they get in touch with you after today's show?
Sure. So I am a creative leader coach. I'm a mentor coach. I train ADHD coaches with Denslow Brown at Coach Approach for Organizers, and we actually offer advanced coach training for all coaches. I am also a thought leader and currently writing a book on this topic of positive accountability. I think that positive support is really important for individuals with ADD. And I think most people can find me at CameronGott.com. And the blog is, I think, something to look at. It's the Global Creative Blog. And right now I'm working on a project called The 4 Elements of Inspiration Practice. So digging into how to have a little more inspiration in your life.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I know I've been involved in the ADHD community for close to 20 years, and I think you've been on the scene longer than I have. So you are definitely a pioneer when it comes to ADHD coaching and an expert when it comes to ADHD. So definitely check out Cameron's resources. He has some great stuff.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say, Tara.
Okay. So this is like a different conversation than I've had on ADHD Support Talk Radio. So, Cameron, where would you like to get started when it comes to adrenaline, inspiration, and motivation?
So, in my teaching, so I've been training coaches for 10 years now with Denslow. I also worked at ADCA for a bit, and with Lori Dupar. And students often come and ask, how do I motivate my clients, my ADHD clients? And so motivation is a big topic. We talk about it a lot. My clients come and are looking for how to create motivation. So it's a big topic in coaching. There's a follow-through coach. Work a lot with positive forms of accountability and support. So they're really focused on getting things done. And I've noticed that they often come with a well-worn motivator in hand, that being something similar to something like adrenaline or a sense of urgency, right? We tend to be master responders, masters of the 11th hour. Mm-hmm. So, but the big goals that my current clients have, these leaders that I work with, the big goals are not going to respond to adrenaline. And so we're looking to diversify motivators. And it's not easy to move from when you're used to operating in a mode really rich in adrenaline, and responding and reacting to situations and being a firefighter, and moving over to the inspiration side. Because we know that there's a big connection between leadership and inspiration, right? I mean, it's what we look for in our leaders. So this is my fascination, and I find that it's pretty tough to bring inspiration into your life when you're so accustomed to being a great responder. So I think that we know inspiration, right? We can see it, we can experience it, but that lasting experience, have it in your life every day is another thing. I think it's one of the Covey Q2, right, quadrant 2, where it's important and not urgent, which can be tough to access at times.
Yeah, and a lot of people get through life and have been quite successful using the adrenaline, and it has to be challenging to go from that, because adrenaline does work. It may not be healthy, you may not feel great after going through it all the time, but yeah, I can imagine it's got to be challenging to switch from adrenaline to inspiration. But I think that's where having somebody like you who understands this, a trained coach, can be very beneficial.
Yeah, and I think I tend to see individuals tend to come to me ages 40 to 50, or 40 to 55, and it's when they've the adrenaline has worked well in their 20s and 30s, and they get into their mid 40s, and it's just not there like it used to be, right? The ability to pull to stay up late and crush the work, the ability to that it just isn't there as much, and I don't know the science there. I can only speak to my experience of the individuals who are coming to me, sort of realizing they're pushing on this gas pedal, and they're not getting a response out of their vehicle.
Yeah, because I've talked to quite a few people recently who have been in the restaurant industry or the healthcare industry, like EMTs, who've been in their 40s, and they're just like, I am so exhausted, I can't do anymore, because they've been working in a career for decades that really focused on the adrenaline. So that makes a lot of sense that people would begin to want to change things or need to change things when they get into their 40s.
Right, and the other thing is, in the 20 years that I've been coaching, I started working with high school students, and then college students, and then adults and professionals and entrepreneurs, and now leaders. It's really difficult to lead with adrenaline alone, because what you don't want to have is basically create an ADHD culture in your organization.
Yeah. Yep.
Because then everyone. It's really interesting how people take their cue from a leader, and so if the leader is modeling, the biggest opportunity, the shiny object, then others will follow, and then it becomes exhausting for everyone.
Yeah, and people do, follow the leader.
They do. They do.
Yeah. All right. So, what would you like to talk about next when it comes to this inspiration and adrenaline?
I think that I was jotting down a couple things, and so I think if we're going to focus on some challenges or the obstacles that stand in the way of getting from adrenaline to inspiration, and by the way, Tara, I want to be really clear. This is not about going cold turkey on adrenaline. Mm-hmm. No, we're not going to give up that elixir.
Okay,
it's a good elixir. We're not going to give that up. Yeah, I want to be really clear. Right, we're not going to. Right, we want to diversify. We want to add.
Okay.
And so I think that those of us in the ADD profession, in the community, we do people a disservice by offering so many tips and strategies. And a lot of those tips and strategies start with the Nike type, the old Nike, just do it. Just try this or just do this. And ADHD, there's a mechanical breakdown between awareness and engagement, and that right, we've known for a long time that knowledge is not enough. Mm-hmm. It's being able to apply that knowledge in a timely fashion. And when we've got so much information coming in, we tend to discard the good stuff that it was good yesterday. So a lot of people come to me. They tend to be focused on what they think they need, and in the sense of, Cam, I need some new strategies, mm-hmm. or I need a system for all of my ideas. And I think that starting with just coming back to awareness, a recognition of what works and what doesn't work, and really how big the gap is between this place of operating as a responder and building out decent practices that are based in inspiration. Mm-hmm. It's not a simple step, and so it's but coming back to this awareness place, is a really good place to begin. So that's that kind of, again, I think one of the big challenges here is that it's the whole gearbox challenge, right? Is that we tend to be really good in fifth gear, or we're stuck in neutral, right? And kind of getting the car in gear and moving forward can be a challenge.
But it can be done, and I'm assuming that you help a lot of your clients do this. Like, don't just go from point A to point B to actually, go through what's in between.
Yeah, if there was no hope, I wouldn't be doing this job for 20 years.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So no, it's a lot of what I do with my clients is finding that second, third gear, right? That can get us around corners and tight spots, right? The whole transition thing. So the transitioning and moving out. But I think surrounding yourself with starting to have some consistent sources of inspiration around you is a really good thing. And I think Hollowell's been talking about this for years with Connect, his book Connect, and right, positive supports and positive people. So information is all relevant, and it's been excellent information for years. There's a lot of new information out there, but again, coming back to really leading with awareness and recognizing where you are.
Awareness is key. I mean, I like you said, I think it's one thing that we don't focus on enough, and there is so much information, and starting with awareness can really be helpful.
Right, and I think often, so really thinking about preferences, a sense of what works for the individual, so that it's not one size fits all. Right? That it's really getting curious about your own unique flavor of ADHD is a beginning place. So recognizing what are those elements you share with others, but also you have personality traits, you have cognitive preferences that are different, right? If we think about multiple intelligences and how you build knowledge and how you process information, we all have different preferences. I'm not an opera singer, right? I'm not a professional football player, and so we all have our strength areas, and so finding those strengths and really practicing in those places of strength. The other thing is, I think that we can try to get things buttoned up just right? That's that black and white thinking related to perfectionism or nesting, I call it. You see, I've got a black lab he'll turn around and around and around on his bed, right, and then plop down. But I think we can kind of keep turning that nesting piece. It's not quite right. It's not quite right, and so proceeding, with blemmies and all, to get out of that awareness state into engagement.
Yeah, and that's a biggie, that black and white type thinking, perfectionism. I know I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and that's one of the biggest ones where people get stuck when it comes to moving forward is, I think they're afraid if it's not perfect, why bother?
Yeah, I think that, where coaching's so helpful is getting into a sense of self and perspectives or belief systems, distinguishing the brain and the mind, right? When you can identify that black and white thinking, right, it often occurs in absolutes, right? Those self-talk around I always ... or I never, right? It's very the language is actually very black and white. So being able to notice it when it's happening, back off of that, or to back away. Adrenaline has this kind of in that sprinter mode, ready to go, and we're feeling like the only way forward is forward, right? And so stepping back and getting perspective on the situation can be really helpful there.
Definitely. Okay, so what else haven't we talked about today when it comes to, what's getting in the way of inspiration?
Going back to what I said earlier about I'll have people ask me to help them develop a system for all their ideas. I see that so a lot of people come with feeling a sense of failure around trying to apply certain systems, systems like GTD, that they'll try it and then they're successful for a period of time. And I think that people with ADHD tend to have just enormous idea generators, that we're always generating new ideas. And I didn't know what to do with them, and they would kind of live in me, and then they'd live in me too long. And then I'd feel like, oh, geez, why didn't I do that? Or I should do something with it. So finding a way to move that stuff through, not necessarily through a system. I've come to learn that really there's no way that we can develop a system that's going to capture every single idea that we generate. And we also need to realize that that's a way that we create a little dopamine squirt, is when we pop that idea out. So it's a great little attender, but then, our to-do list is getting longer and longer and longer. I recall someone who, I'm just remembering, online and social media, they just started, I don't think they really in the ADD community, but they just started sharing their ideas. It's like, I'm just going to share my ideas. It's like, that guy must be ADD, right? It's just like wonderful ideas after another, realizing you got to, if we have too much clutter on the inside, it can reflect clutter on the outside.
Yes.
And so, looking to, it's a little bit of an acceptance thing of being willing to let go of a possibly good idea. But I'm a completion coach, and you can't have meaningful completion if you're trying to work on 27 different things. And the analogy I use is a snowplow. There's a reason why snowplows are only one lane wide, right? It can only push so much snow. If you've got a 4-lane snowplow, it's going to get stuck, right? It just can't push that much stuff forward. So being selective and pushing things, and then discarding, jettisoning, keeping the ideas fresh and moving forward. But I'll tell you, Tara, the thing that I found that's so helpful is finding a way to process this stuff with, whether it's with individuals or, that's what I've learned in the last 10 years is finding the right people, as you were saying earlier, that you're finding, good support, finding the right people to work on these and collaborate.
Yes. And clutter's a big one, and just having, people hold on to a lot of physical clutter, but the idea is people want to hold on to those too. So and like you said, you can't do everything. You have to let some of them go in order to be successful and get the good things done.
Yeah, I have an analogy of I liken projects to watermelons, and that my clients often come with. So the melons are their projects, and they've got their melon patches, which are just completely overgrown. And not only are they overgrown, but they often are seeking melons from elsewhere, right? Like going to look for new melons, and they're just loading up on this. The melon patch is getting very difficult to walk around. And then, trying to carry more than 3 melons, it's really tough, isn't it? Yeah. It's really tough. It's just like the snowplow thing. So picking some choice melons and then moving them to a completion place.
Okay. So we are actually at the end of today's show. Cameron, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to leave people with today? And can you definitely make sure you give out your website information?
Sure. I'll start with the website information, CameronGott, GOTT, .com, and most of my information is on my blog. And I think what I've learned is looking for sources of positive support, and really in 2 forms: environmental, in the sense of your physical space, making a space that works for you, and then Denslow has a term that I really like called upgrading your community. Right, finding people who really celebrate who you are, to see you who you are, not just identify you as, oh, there's that person with ADD, but finding a diverse group of people who really see who you are and the strengths you bring is just can be very magical, and that you can get over to that side of inspiration if you start to build out some positive structures, and then guess what? Then you can respond to those positive structures. So it's I don't want to say that it's impossible to get from adrenaline over to inspiration or to bring the two together. Curiosity is a third motivator, I think. I mean, turns our attention. So bringing curiosity on board and building that awareness muscle are all parts to making that transition and bringing more inspiration into your life.
Okay, thank you so much, Cameron Gott, and thank you everyone for listening. And if you want more information and you want to hear a tip from Cameron, you can go over to our Patreon community, ADHD Support Talk community, at patreon.com/ADHD Support. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and have a great day or night.